Great. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the session today. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking through what we've seen as some of the impacts arising from COVID-19, and in particular, the response that we had to our own initiative to helping universities during this period, and what we've seen come back from that level of engagement. That will then lead us on to looking at some of the emerging trends we're seeing in higher education, which are not going to be just as a result or a direct consequence of COVID, but I think certainly being accelerated as a result. And I think we'll have a level of permanence as we go forward over the next few years. We'll give you a little bit of an insight into our own learning ecosystem and the insights that brings. And then we'll talk through a few case studies where we're seeing some really interesting progression from universities and how they've been adapting to the current environment. If we look at the current scenario in COVID, it's still hugely impacting organizations around the world. We still see 134 countries as of this month where there are closures of educational institutions. And I think for the vast majority, even if there's a recognition that we may be able to open the campus in part or in full, that it won't necessarily mean that any student could then access on-campus learning. Many are unable to travel or unwilling to travel, or have had different circumstances in terms of their ability to fund an on-campus educational program. And so we see the crisis continuing to impact a huge number of students. Over 1 billion learners are affected worldwide. And we see that still being a very present scenario over the next few months ahead. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the pandemic has caused a very significant surge in online learning. From Coursera's own perspective, we've seen a huge increase in the number of people enrolling to take courses on our platform. If you look at just the last 30 days, we've had over a 600% increase in enrollments compared to the same time last year, with more than 10 million new people coming on board in the last 30 days, which is an exceptional level of growth. There's a very big correlation between that increase and countries and people being in lockdown. And for many people who are in business, they may have found that they're unable to be as productive as home. They may have been furloughed. They may not have the opportunity to even have their role anymore. Their job may have been disappeared. And in many cases, individuals are taking this opportunity to invest in their own development. In Russia, for example, we've also seen that enrollments have increased 300% compared to the same time last year. And we're seeing a huge number of new learners coming onto the platform that are perhaps embracing online or self-serve learning for the first time. Now, when this pandemic started to take hold, Coursera, working very closely with our university partners, launched an initiative where we made the full catalog of Coursera available to any educational institution globally around the world, where students and staff could access our content for free until the end of July, and that's still a running program. And any student that has started a course by that time would have until the end of September in order to complete that course. And this is something we're hugely grateful to our university partners, of which we have around about 180 that have actually joined us and partners with the initiative to make this content available during this period of time. And that has had a huge response, and that allows us to talk to some of the insights we've gathered from that program. But if you look at the program itself, we've had more than 34,000 inquiries from faculty staff, from admin staff at educational institutions about how to utilize this program to support their learning goals. And we've launched nearly 9,000 individual programs. Some organizations have more than one program, so there's probably around 5,000 unique institutions, or perhaps 1 in 5 of every university in the world has embraced this in some way or form. And since the middle of March, in that very short time period, we've had more than 1 million students have enrolled in the program, and collectively they've taken more than 5 million courses, or started 5 million courses, which is about 4 courses on average per student. There's been some big ranges in that, of course. Many students take on huge amounts of learning in a short time. But what it's really demonstrating is a really strong attitude towards learning, wanting to learn, and accessing this kind of capability. Within Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, You can see the numbers on the screen here. We've had 3,500 programs launched across the EMEA region, 350,000 students, and over 1 million courses have been started by students, again, through the free access. And if you're interested to see the kind of enrollments that people are looking at, there's a very, very strong focus around the core disciplines of computer science, business level information. Data science is typically very, very strong. And you can see those domains on the screen there, and also some of the very specific courses. The most popular course during this program has been Programming for Everybody, but a lot of information around Python, around neural networks, data science, AI, and so a lot of technical content coming through. But we've also seen some big growth in areas around personal development, understanding personal health impacts, and also trying to work effectively from virtual environments and working with virtual teams. And we see this replicated around different countries around the world. For example, in Russia, we had 2,500 plus inquiries from Russian organizations coming across more than 400 unique institutions in Russia looking at the program. And 150 of those have signed up the terms and conditions and joined the program and have made Coursera available to some or all of their students as part of this initiative. So it's been a hugely interesting program to be engaged with. We've felt very privileged that we've been able to support organizations during this period of time. But it's also led for us to have a significant amount of insight into both what we're seeing happening and what students are interested in learning, but also what people are anticipating will be going forward in terms of changes. Now, one of the key challenges we are going to see as we go forward in the market is that globally we're anticipating entering one of the largest global recessions that we've ever seen. And so for many students, employability outcomes are going to be really, really critical in terms of the choices they make on where they want to take their education. And this is data that came from a report by McKinsey very, very recently this year that talks about what are the most vulnerable jobs in the world today, and what is the impact in terms of looking at both wages and vulnerability. What's the impact from coming from automation and the accelerating impact of COVID? And these were jobs that were always going to be at risk of automation, of being reduced as AI and machine learning and technology starts to replace some or part of these, but it's been accelerated with COVID in many cases. And in total across the world, that's probably about 300 million jobs that are at risk of being automated out into some degree. And so for many students, it's about ensuring that when they come out of their educational program, they are emerging with the skills that will be relevant for future work. And you can see here some of the examples that we're starting to see. Students are going to be much more concerned that they're actually building skills that will be relevant for the jobs for the future. And those skills are fairly wide and numerous. There's lots of studies that talk about them. But they do include things like digital literacy, entrepreneurship, critical thinking skills, leveraging data, AI, machine learning, engineering, cloud computing. There's a lot of technical skills around that, but there's also skills around leadership. How do you work with digital teams, with virtual teams? How do you work with highly diverse organizations and multinational institutions? So there's a lot of skills that are very, very relevant to this process. And that's going to become, I think, a much stronger criteria for educational selection as we go forward. If we look at the wider trends, there are 6 trends, and I'll bring them all up here, but I'm going to talk to them each individually, that we're sort of seeing emerging. And these aren't necessarily trends that are something that's purely Coursera's opinion, although we very much believe in these. It's been very much evidenced by the expectations of the majority of the higher educational institutions that we've been working with. So I think blended learning is very much here to stay. Most organizations we talk to anticipate that there's going to have to be some offerings online, some more flexible programs going forward in the future, and that both students and staff will have a blend of both being on campus and off campus in their pursuit. That's by no means to say that campuses will disappear. We absolutely believe that campuses will play a very strong part in the future of education, but there will have to be more flexibility in the offerings that are available to other students. And for that to happen, we will need a level of online content to be produced. Many organizations started that journey long before this pandemic ever took part. Some are very much at the very beginning of that journey, but we are going to see a lot more online content being produced, more online degrees going to be made available to students. And I think virtually all universities will have to start building or buying or augmenting the existing online content that they have as they go forward. Now, one of the challenges when you start moving online is there's going to be a pressure on tuition fees. People are not going to want to pay the same amount of fee structures for a program that is online, either in part or in full, compared to what you might anticipate paying for an on-campus experience, which means that you have to ensure that the blended learning experience or the online experience is a really high value experience for the students themselves. And it's not as simple as simply taking recordings of on-campus lectures and making those available online. It's not been designed for that experience. It needs to be done in a very entirely different way. It's a little bit like saying, we're very experienced in putting on a play or a theatre production, and we're now going to enter the movie world, so we're just going to video the play and put it online. It simply wouldn't work. It wouldn't meet the expectations of the movie-going audience. And it's the same thing for education. An online program has to be designed for that purpose, for how people will interact with it. It's a different pedagogical approach, is broken down in different ways. The next part of this, I think, is we're going to see a big growth in job-relevant education. There was a recent study in the US that talked to how only about 34% of US college students felt they had the knowledge and skills that they would need for entering the workforce. This was a recent study by Gallup. And I think we're going to see that students are going to start demanding much more skills-based, hands-on learning that comes both from university partners, but also has industry influences as well. And this, I think, will be forming more and more of their selection criteria for the courses they choose to take. The other trend we're starting to see is a real recognition that lifelong learning now is something that will be something that almost all individuals will be embracing as we go forward. Lifelong learning has been talked about for a long time, but I think as we're seeing that people's lifetimes are expanding, their time and work is taking longer, but also the pace of change, the pace of technology, and how quickly skill sets are expiring, means that people are having to constantly reinvent themselves. And there's a huge opportunity for the educational sector. And I think often, in many cases, young universities in particular, who often have built very strong relationships with industry and industry partners, have an opportunity to play a significant role in that lifelong learning. Individuals not only give up their job to continue that learning, so it's how do you actually embrace an ability to deliver learning to individuals whilst they're at work. And that means offering more modular, stackable types of learning divided into smaller chunks, which could be in the form of projects or lessons or courses or professional certificates, which could ultimately build into much larger overall credentials. Now, if we just to give a little bit of insight into Coursera, for those who haven't come across us as an organization, we have approximately 16 million learners on our platform today. And those learners are taking content from a range of primarily university partners around the world, and also a significant number of very well-recognized industry partners like Google, and IBM, and Amazon, and so on. And we also work directly with a range of businesses, government, and higher educational institutions to provide learning opportunities for students and for academic staff. And one of the unique opportunities that we have is to help bridge the gap, to help educational institutions understand what businesses are looking for in the skill sets that they're trying to develop, what are the future skills that they're looking for, and the data and insights that we have by country, by geography, by industry sector, in terms of what are the future skills individuals are trying to develop. That same content that is developing the skill sets in businesses is available to students to ensure that they are coming out with the skill sets that we know companies are looking for to maximize their opportunities for development. Now, if we look at the Coursera for Campus offering very specifically, there are 5 sort of fundamental components to it. The first part of that is the content. And unlike many content providers in the marketplace, Coursera's content primarily comes from university partners who have built that content with a pedagogical approach behind it that aligns to the way students are taught in universities today. And secondly, they also have a level of assessments built in so that you can actually utilize these for credit programs and actually bring them into the overall curriculum. As part of the overall proposition, you have the ability to author projects and courses for your students. There's no additional fee for that, it's just a capability of the system. And we're seeing many of the organizations that we're working with looking how they can now use Coursera as a vehicle to bring their own in-house content online and make that available for students through an online mechanism. A big part, I believe, of actually really developing learning is to apply that to a practical world and a very much a hands-on environment. And so as part of the overall catalog, we also have what we call guided projects, which provide a way to interact using some form of technology in a virtual environment to practice skills, to learn about specific technologies and applications, but where students can work with a teacher, with an expert in terms of how things are done and apply those skills in a safe but real world environment. And this then really helps them develop the skill sets that will be relevant for when they graduate and moving into the world of work. And we can build out the essential skills maps that we believe that organizations will be looking for in your particular area that your students are likely to go towards, to make sure that they're really relevant to the skills that are being developed in the marketplace. And this, of course, ultimately leads to much higher employability outcomes for students. The content that we have available on the platform covers pretty much all of the major domains you'd hope to see. So we have a huge array of courses covering business, technology, data science, health, social sciences, arts and humanities, and so on. We also have an application which we call Course Match, which allows us to take a curriculum or a set of degree programs from a university to run them through our Course Match algorithm. And using AI, we can help identify the most relevant courses that meet the learning objectives we have in those programs. So you can very quickly augment your programs with existing content from the Coursera catalog without having to try and figure out what is relevant and going through those courses one by one, which really helps organizations get there much more quickly. Authoring private courses and projects for your students, you have a full authoring toolkit. You can build videos, assessments, effectively programming environments, labs, etc. And it's all modular, it's all reusable, it's all your own IP, so you can share that with all your students across the organization and control who that is made available to. And it's not just English level content, although that's probably what Coursera is most widely known for, but we do have a lot of courses that are either originated in native language or subtitled in native languages. And overall, we have 50 languages on the platform, some with a very, very small number of courses, but some like Russian and French and Spanish are much more extensive. For example, if we look at Russian, we have more than 320 courses on the platform from Russian universities and companies. And these are taught by some of the best experts in the world in those local languages. Now, I'm going to move on to announce a very exciting partnership that we've just engaged in with Covenant University, one of the leading young universities in the world, very highly ranked. And I'll talk about what their goals are that they're looking to achieve. Covenant University as an organization, as we see here, is highly ranked from a global world standing. But it's also number 4 on the continent of Africa and is Nigeria's leading educational institution. The organization itself, the university, has a very strong focus on educational outcomes. And beneath that is a strong focus on entrepreneurship and also looking to make sure that individual graduates are coming out with the values that you see here on the screen, with a focus on effectively ensuring that the whole human being, sometimes called the total man concept, thinking about the spirit, the soul, the mind, is embraced in the learning program. And as a result of their focus on this, the organization has had a very, very strong success rate in helping individual students who are graduating meet their employability outcomes. So the vast majority of students, 98%, are either employers of new startups or new organizations, or are employed as a result of the education that they receive through Covenant. And so that is an incredible rate. In the whole of Nigeria, it's the university with the most employable graduates hitting that 98% employability rate. Now, as an incredible successful organization, the obvious question is, what are they looking to achieve from their partnership with us at Coursera? And the university absolutely recognizes that content is always going to be evolving. The university is ultimately aiming to improve its curriculum, seeking to match current trends in the industry, to improve how students are learning by embracing new and innovative type technologies to actually deliver those learning outcomes, and to overall improve the students' learning experiences. Now, they're very insistent on high quality outputs, high quality outcomes. They want to ensure that their students emerge with the very best, top-notch, bleeding edge critical skills and knowledge. And they're looking to make sure that those outcomes are monitored as we go through the next 3, 4, 5 years to ensure that the program is delivering those goals as successfully as possible. And the university has identified that blended learning is one of the key strategies for achieving its aims over the next few years. It's using Coursera to partner with them to achieve those aims, and about 30% of all credit will be earned by the students using Coursera content, supplementing the already existing programs that exist and the real strong domain expertise that exists across the university. So in terms of objectives and what we're hoping to see as a result of this partnership is that we will have higher student outcomes in terms of employabilities. There'll be improved curriculum relevance for the students. And really importantly, I think we're going to see a reduction in the skills gap that's not just within Nigeria, but across the continent as a whole, as Covenant takes its part in developing skills across the population and helping individuals become more digitally literate and more job ready to go forward in the future. And we're going to be very excited to see how this program develops, and indeed how that may in turn lead to other organizations joining this, this initiative and hopefully driving more transformative learning across the continent. So I'm going to take just a minute to show a very quick video from Covenant that highlights a little bit about their intentions here. Okay, so really excited to see where that's going to take us as we go forward with this relationship. I'm going to highlight a few other case studies which I think will be of interest. One of our long-standing partners within Russia is the Higher School of Economics, one of the leading institutions in Russia, very well recognized for its incredible level of research and the quality of its educational outcomes. We've worked with the Higher School of Economics for a long time. They're both a content partner on Coursera, so its content is available to Coursera customers around the world, and it's very well recognized for the quality that it brings. But it also offers Coursera content from our wider catalog to its own students as part of a 4-credit learning model. It was one of the early adopters of this kind of approach well before the pandemic ever hit. Those courses are offered blended in Russian and English language, and some are actually prescribed by the teachers and the curriculum experts. Others are available to the students to be selected from a short list of courses that are relevant to the content they wish to do. And already, nearly 20% of all courses by their students are studied online through Coursera, through webinars, conferences, and other lecture videos. So as an organization, they've already made a very strong step forward in the world of blended learning, and I'm sure we'll see them continue to embrace innovative technology as they go forward. Another organization that is fully embracing the whole blended learning paradigm is the University of Szeged. University of Szeged is a large research university in Hungary with 21,000 students. It was the top-ranked university within Hungary, and it's really been a long-term pioneer in the space of distance and online learning really since 2017. And they've found through engaging with their students that students are looking for this level of innovative technology. They're embracing new learning opportunities. Many of those students have part-time roles, and it's not always easy to enjoy a full campus experience. And so it is an opportunity there to actually offer more flexible learning opportunities to individuals, which then provides more opportunity for individuals to access those learning opportunities. If you actually look at Coursera utilization, and the University of Saget only really started with Coursera a few months ago, it's already become effectively the 6th biggest faculty in the university if you actually count the number of students that are utilizing it to drive their learning program today. And that we're sure going to see grow as the university expands and seeks to embrace people around executive education programs, adult education, and expanding its international reach. And this has given the university the opportunity to expand its capacity of teaching, a really core advantage of embracing blended learning, and to reach out to other audiences that previously would have been impossible to engage. Finally, I want to talk about University 2035, which is an organization in Russia that was set up with government funding to help provide opportunities for Russian higher educational institutions to engage with international providers like Coursera in their educational outcomes. And we have a very strong partnership with University 2035, where it makes available the content on our Coursera catalog, particularly leveraging a lot of our Russian content to Russian educational institutions, which can then access this content through University 2035. It's particularly valuable where organizations would have a challenge working with international partners because of legislation, because of currency exchange issues, or just a general challenge or lack of infrastructure or existing resources in the team to build out those capabilities and programs. University 2035 offers another route to actually access content from Coursera and build online, blended, and for-credit programs in partnership with that organization. And so it's a really exciting partnership for us, and it provides access potentially to any of the educational institutions across the country. So I'm going to wrap up in terms of just summarizing what we see as the opportunity for Coursera, for campus, and in terms of the overall blended learning opportunities we see going forward. And there are two primary categories. There's for credit, where the actual courses are utilized in delivering credits as part of your overall degree program. And they could be a standalone credit offerings, where simply a course is taken, credit is allocated for that course, and it's mapped to the curriculum that you have. Or it can be brought into an overall blended program, where actually it's part of a classroom initiative, perhaps it forms part of a discussion group, it could be attached to an existing course, but it's still being used within an overall program of delivering credit towards an actual outcome. On the not for credit side, this is also about offering additional capabilities beyond the pure degree or the pure curriculum and certificate, where students can earn certificates that are very much focused around career readiness. It's the opportunity to develop ancillary skill sets that may not be part of the formal curriculum to develop more well-rounded expertise. And if you look at it from an organizational perspective, there's really a very, very strong business case for trying to embrace forms of blended learning. Firstly, you can save significant faculty time because that teaching component is now being effectively delivered by an online learning program, which is effectively pre-built. And once it's been built, then no longer is that time required. That allows teachers to do a number of different value generating activities. It could be focused on doing more research and driving more PhDs within the organization, on doing more actual projects or working in partnership with industry. It could be reallocated to simply allow you to teach more students and bring those in from organizations without having to increase your fixed cost base. We've talked about increasing employability outcomes. It's an opportunity also to increase the skill levels of your staff. And I think we're also going to see a really big shift over the next few years in the global rankings of organizations and their reputation based on how well they can embrace technology, be open to innovative approaches to learning, and offer more flexible and online programs, perhaps than other organizations may be able to do. And I think young universities have a particular opportunity to really leapfrog perhaps some of the more established environments because of their natural instinct to embrace more modern technologies. And that in turn will also lead to reduced cost of student acquisition as reputation and capability increases. It allows you to compete more effectively on the world stage. I know we're very tight on time. Elizabeth, please let me know if you've got any time for questions or if you'd like to move on to the next session.
I think, Anthony, we have time for one question. And if you'll allow me, I will pick that question. It's quite a short one.
Okay.
Does Coursera have online virtual programs?
So if you mean by virtual programs, if you're talking about sort of online degrees and programs like this, then yes, we have several online degrees on the programs with our partners. These are still their programs. They're hosted by Coursera. And so we provide access to the programs through our infrastructure and our network. But those programs are full online degrees. And those online degrees, when they're awarded, have the same value as a full on-campus program. There's usually a big cost advantage to students going on those. But I think we're going to see really big growth in the level and provision of online degrees as we see the impact of the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for your incredible insight, that incredible data, fresh data you presented. Thank you again, and we're going to move on to our next session.
My pleasure.